Hornets TV is catching up with the Hornets Taverners coach Graham Power this afternoon. GP, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Maury.
All right, GP, for the viewers out there, just to get to know you, can you give us a bit of a snapshot of your journey to the Hornets?
Yeah, I sort of started in my teaching days. I did a lot of teaching out in the country areas, and that's where I also started coaching. Before that, I played in Brisbane, but my coaching and stuff started in Bundaberg and Wide Bay, director of coaching in Wide Bay for a few years, and then got into some Queensland cricket roles, the regional cricket manager when Andy Richards became the fire coach.
Yep.
And then just more recently as the Queensland cricket talent and coaching specialist for the Brisbane North and Bears region, and that's where I met you, and through our conversations and stuff, and when I sort of resigned and retired from Queensland cricket, upon your invitation, I've rocked up at Hornets and thoroughly enjoy my time here.
So GP, next question, what's 9 to 5 look like for you at the moment?
At the moment, probably going to change quite drastically as of tomorrow, when my wife and I have now taken on a new role at Brisbane Grammar School as a boarding tutor for the year 5 and 8 boarders, 18 boarders that come into some brand new boarding facilities, and my wife and I applied for the role and got that, so we live in with the boarders, and a lot of our mornings now from 7 till 8:30 we'll be getting the boys ready for their school day, through getting them ready for sport and whatever else happens in the morning. Most of the day is still quite a free part of the day for me, but now coming into the cricket season, that'll start to impact on how much of an afternoon I do with cricket, or Hornets or with Brisbane Grammar and stuff. So, but up until this point in time, the last few weeks, it hasn't been any different to what I would normally do. Even with the COVID restrictions, I still was sort of in my off season from coaching, but things will start to change dramatically as of tomorrow, I would think. So.
Yeah.
But we're looking forward to that. So,
mate, just get an insight. Obviously, you started your cricket in Brisbane. Can you give the viewers a bit of a insight into your playing career?
My cricket career started basically, I'm not quite sure of the year, back in the 1970s sometime, but it probably started by accident a little bit, because I played a lot of squash. Because my grandparents owned Barton squash courts at one stage, so I played a lot of squash, and then when my granddad died, they sold the squash courts, and so I took up cricket from that point, and that was when I was about 12, I think it was, and I played for Valleys for a number of years, played in an undefeated premiership in under-16s, and then played probably 2 or 3 years first grade before I went out and did my teaching career out in some country areas. But I played country cricket without ever representing Queensland country, but played quite solidly and enjoyed my time playing country cricket in Bundaberg, which had a strong competition back in those days.
Yep.
And then I retired in the mid-90s sometime and concentrated more on my coaching side of things.
One reason, GP, the Hornets sought after your coaching signature was I'm a big believer in your long-term coaching philosophy. Can you tell the viewers a bit about that?
Yes, my philosophy at this level with the under-16 boys and stuff, since I've been part of the boys system, I suppose. So I did a lot of girls coaching before that, but still the philosophy is very similar in the fact that I'm here to develop their cricket skills, and if some of those boys go on to play for Queensland, well and good, but it's a team and a squad philosophy. Squads win your premierships, teams win your games, so we concentrate on working with the whole squad and giving them an opportunity to develop tactically as well as technically. Then hopefully some of those boys will then go on and play first grade or even further on, and hopefully too they'll become better people from what we do together as a group. I'm sort of more of a group team person rather than an individual coach. We have lots of team discussions, and a lot of my philosophy, I suppose, extends around questioning and getting them to be able to think for themselves rather than me tell them or show them. They make mistakes, and that's encouraged to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes rather than having to be perfect all the time, and without putting too much pressure on them to become better at it.
And that coaching philosophy, GP, obviously you do a lot of centre wicket training, and the boys are actually doing some centre wicket training now. How are they shaping up, the boys?
On paper, I think probably the strongest in my 3 years so far at the Hornets. I mean, we've in our 3-year program, if you call it that, we can actually see that we've got stronger every year from when I first came on board to now, and without putting too high expectation on this group, I think we're very capable of winning a lot more games than we have in the past. But it all comes back to how well we work as a group and how they perform on the field, and that's what the centre wicket is mostly all about, is to try and give them the tactical side of things and knowing where to put fielders and understanding the phases of the game to be able to adapt to whatever happens in front of them, which you can't get in the net situation.
Okay, GP, to finish off, we give some questions from Cow Corner. We call them here at Hornets TV. The first one, mate, if just to give the viewers some insight into your personality, if you were an animal, what type of animal would you be?
Well, Maury, I've been asked that question at conferences and stuff, and I always go, the first thing I think of is the dictionary, and one of the very first words in the dictionary is an aardvark. So I always say I'm an aardvark. I'm at the beginning of I always like to come at the start. I'm unique, so the aardvark is what I.
Excellent.
Yeah, something different, which I think everyone's different, so I'm always happy with an aardvark, and it sounds good.
Next question from Cow Corner GP. There was a Powerball 80 million on Thursday night. If you were the winner of that, what would you do with it?
Well, there's a couple of things I'd do with it. Firstly, I'd look after myself and my family, my close family. But I've often thought about this over many, many years, that if I had a lot of money that I had too much, and that 80 million is too much for me at my age anyway, I'd like to give money to, firstly, Queensland school sport for cricket, girls and boys who represent their region of cricket, so they can go to a state championship free of charge. And also to Queensland cricket for the same reason. Those boys and girls who are good enough to represent their region and then their state, so they can get free. They don't have to pay for anything. It'll just be a free championship, state or national championship that would be paid for. That to me would be, I'd feel really good about doing that. Cricket's a passion, and as I said, 80 million would be too much for me to look after. So
that would be after your yacht, though.
Oh no, I'm not a seafaring person, mate. So no, not a yacht. No. Well, they'd have to hire someone, I suppose, but no, the yacht would never thought of that.
And last question from Cow Corner GP. You've probably worked with a lot of coaches. Who's the best coach you've worked with, and why was I?
Yeah, good question, Maury. And you're right up there in calculations.
No, seriously. You have worked with some really good coaches. Any that you particularly took on board as mentors?
There's probably, as you said, there's been a few. But probably the one that got me really into coaching and got me enthused about the job of coaching was a man called Bobby Diekman from Mergen. He was the Wide Bay Director of Coaching. He was the Wide Bay Development Officer when I got into the Wide Bay cricket coaching sphere, and he used to come to Walkervale State School and we used to talk cricket and got me involved in coaching, and he then eventually asked me would I become the Director of Coaching at Wide Bay. So we had probably 10-12 years together as coaching people together, so a lot of the way that my coaching has developed is probably from the philosophies and stuff that he had. And then it's just gone through people like Andy Richards and spending time with tours with yourself and just other coaches that you come in contact with, that you just generally pick up a couple of things here and there that mould you as a coach and stuff. But yeah, Bobby Diekman, probably from a long range point of view, is probably the one that I've probably learnt the most from, only because we spent so much time together and touring and travelling Wide Bay and sitting in the car and chatting and all those sort of things. So yeah, he's probably been the most influential. Yeah.